Let's just imagine for a second that the tech you use every single day suddenly wakes up, right? It doesn't just sit there waiting for your instructions anymore. It anticipates, it delegates, it actually remembers, and then it acts. We are looking at a massive radical shift in human-computer interaction. In this explainer, we're going to dive into how this huge wave of new agentic AI is fundamentally rewiring the human brain. We're not just talking about software updates today, we are looking at a profound evolution in human behavior.
So, what happens when your software remembers you better than you remember yourself? Seriously, think about that for a second. Because the truth is, we are completely past the era of just typing a prompt into a chat box and waiting around for a text response. The data we're seeing from developer platforms right now shows a total abandonment of that basic chatbot model. The tools being built today don't just talk. They form autonomous swarms that collaborate, execute, and remember. And honestly, this changes absolutely everything about how we work, how we trust, and how we actually think.
Section 1. The autonomous mind shift and the end of prompting.
Okay, to really understand the psychology of what's happening here, we have to look at cognitive load. The old approach, it was kind of like being a stressed-out micromanager. You had to hold the entire context in your head, break down the problem, spoon-feed it to the AI piece by piece, and dictate every single output. It was literally exhausting. Your brain was just bogged down by execution. But the new approach, think of it like suddenly becoming the CEO of an incredibly smart, self-running company. Your brain is no longer doing the heavy lifting of the task. Instead, you're operating at a much higher level, basically conducting a symphony of specialized digital workers.
And to get there, developers are using something called an agent meta-harness. Take Ruflo, for example. This is a project that just exploded with over 62,000 stars. Ruflo isn't just an AI, it's a framework to deploy intelligent multiplayer swarms and coordinate completely autonomous workflows. It integrates adaptive memory and self-learning intelligence. From a psychological standpoint, this is the ultimate offloading of human cognitive execution. You aren't just hiring a digital assistant anymore, you're instantiating an entire digital department.
Reveal 1. Swarms and human attention, and how you are now the manager.
Let's walk through this new mental workflow, because it's a huge departure from how humans have worked for centuries. Step 1, you define the strategy. That's it, you're literally done. Step 2, the meta-harness deploys the swarm. And step 3, the AI agents actually talk to each other to solve the problem. Frameworks like FluxioAI, which has nearly 55,000 stars on GitHub, by the way, are designed specifically for orchestrating these role-playing autonomous AI agents. They foster collaborative intelligence to handle the complex middle steps without any human intervention. Your attention is no longer fragmented by 1,000 tiny tasks. It is laser-focused purely on the outcome.
The psychological stakes of this transition are absolutely massive. You are no longer the doer. You are the orchestrator. And when our brains aren't focused on doing the granular work, our entire sense of professional achievement shifts. We're transitioning away from the satisfaction of craftsmanship and moving into the completely different psychology of management and delegation. We are managing digital entities now instead of actually doing the work ourselves.
When we map out cognitive load today, it is honestly shocking. Routine tasks are eaten up by tools like Claude Code, which is an agentic coding tool with over 135,000 stars that lives right in the terminal and understands your entire code base. That alone is 45% of the pie. Complex collaboration handled by frameworks like FluxioAI, that's another 45%. Your human strategy is shrunk down to just 10%. The human slice of execution has shrunk to almost nothing. Our brains are being freed up, or, perhaps forced out of the execution layer entirely.
Reveal 2. Persistent memory and blurring the lines of trust.
Now, what's really interesting here is that we're seeing tools like Claude Mem capture everything an agent does, compress it with AI, and inject that context into future sessions. Psychologically, this mimics human relationships. Add in something like Mem0 for universal memory layer, and you inherently start building parasocial trust. Then there's ECC, a massive system that introduces evolving instincts and memory, which drastically reduces our cognitive friction. When a machine remembers what you did yesterday, your brain just intuitively starts treating it less like a calculator and a whole lot more like a confidant.
85,558. That is the staggering number of developers who have starred the Claude MAM repository on GitHub. This is definitely not some niche feature. It proves a massive, desperate human craving for context. We want software that actually remembers us across sessions.
Persistent AI memory builds a completely new mental environment for us. It totally eradicates the frustrating need for repetitive context setting and allows for the seamless continuation of complex thought across days or even weeks. But most importantly, It mimics colleague-level understanding. When your AI knows your preferences, your past mistakes, and your ongoing projects, it entirely blurs the line between a software tool and a working partner. Our brains simply aren't wired to distinguish between a highly intuitive, remembering AI and a helpful human colleague. Well, except the AI never steals your lunch from the fridge.
Reveal 3. Infinite Reach in Curing Information Anxiety.
We're looking at tools like Agent Reach, which has nearly 50,000 stars right now. The premise is simple but profound. It gives your AI agent eyes to literally see the entire internet. We are talking about the ability for an autonomous swarm to read and search Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, GitHub, and more, all without you having to open a single browser tab. This is pretty much the ultimate cure for the modern human condition of information overload.
What this achieves for our daily cognitive health is just incredible. It operates with zero API fees for the user, allowing for the complete automation of deep research. It entirely eliminates endless anxiety-inducing scrolling. By giving agents infinite reach, we completely eliminate the brain fatigue of searching. It forces a psychological shift in the human role. We're no longer the seeker of information. We just sit back and we become purely the synthesizer of the results the swarm brings back to us.
This entire paradigm is perfectly captured by the vision of the Open Hands repository, which boasts nearly 80,000 stars. Their motto is simply Open Hands, AI-driven development. This is the new reality, completely hands-free creation. It's the cognitive relief of stepping back and letting the swarm navigate the noise of the internet for you.
Section 5. The outsourced human identity. Who are we when the work is actually done?
Let's do a quick, rapid-fire look at the everyday professional tasks that are now fully outsourced to agents today. Job searching? Automated by Career Ops. Need a presentation? PPT Master builds a real editable PowerPoint with native shapes, animations, and speaker notes voiced as audio. Complex workflows? Handled natively by N8N. Interacting with models? Streamlined perfectly by Open Web UI. When every single one of these tasks is outsourced to the swarm, it forces us to ask a very uncomfortable question about what core purpose is actually left for the human worker.
I think the developers over at Noose Research perfectly summarize this deep psychological shift with their incredibly popular Hermes agent repo, sitting at over 208,000 stars. They describe it as the agent that grows with you. AI is no longer a static tool in your toolbox. It's a growing, learning, remembering entity attached to your hip. It adapts to your mind, and in response, your mind adapts to it.
Which leaves us with this massive open loop. It's the question you really have to ask yourself the next time you sit down at your computer. When execution, research, creativity, and memory are seamlessly automated by the swarm, what exactly remains of the human spark? If you are just that 10% strategy slice at the top of the cognitive load chart, how does your sense of self-worth and identity evolve over the next few years?
The autonomous mind is here, and it's fundamentally rewiring how we interact with the world and, honestly, with ourselves. Take some time to reflect on this shift today. Look at the tasks you do and ask yourself if you are the doer or the orchestrator. Keep exploring the edges of this new cognitive frontier, and above all, keep questioning the swarm.